What's up, my guy?
I'm like, can Pat hear me? Hello, anybody there? That's because I have myself muted, man. Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm sitting here like, and I just shot you the text too. I was like, wait a minute, man. I'm in, but I don't hear anything. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, it's
you trying
always
to
something,
you trying to treat
man.
me like solo Sokoa, man. Don't do that.
Nah, I'm not gonna do that to you, man. I understand of this scientific method thing. You are the not original tribal chief, the only tribal chief of the scientific method.
My man.
Patrick, I love you.
My God. You know what's funny about that is if this had come in how it was supposed to, I was going to hit you with the main event game. So was in your city. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't pop off like we were supposed to. So it's
Hey
cool.
Pat,
It's cool. It's cool.
you can't see me. I got the hands solo. I love
Oh,
you.
you did you do it? You went full Fatu?
I got the Fatu hands and everything.
My God, listen, all you need now is the grill and you just pop off.
Oh man. Hey, if my bad, this is
My
a shameless plug. I know we supposed to talk Cowboys, but y'all have to go see the latest episode of And New Wrestling. It was absolutely hilarious. Probably my favorite episode we did, man. Too funny, man. Too funny.
Yeah, they only get better and better, man, every single time we do it. And we do it every single week, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all got to go follow And New Wrestling on all the platforms, especially on YouTube, man. Check that out. We are having a blast covering wrestling.
We are, man. We are. I'm probably having more fun covering wrestling than I am the Cowboys at this current moment, man. It's just the realities of the situation. But
way more fun, man.
Way more fun. And, it's another week, Pat, another disappointing injury report. Although, there's some positive news as well, I'm sure you'll get to. But, this Deron Bland situation, it's just maddening to me, man. I got a little more clarity on it, but it's still frustrating. Not having one of your best guys for what looks to be about 10 games now when we thought his return could have been much earlier, like a month ago, Pat.
Right. I mean, that's absolutely correct. When you think about the timeline, I mean, this is a surgery that happened before the season. It was a stress fracture. It's not like it was a devastating foot injury or a Lisfranc or anything like that. And then for him to return to practice, 3-4 weeks ago, practice fully, team participation 2 days in a row, and then he's been shut down ever since. You were hoping that the bye week would give some added rest, but coming out of the bye week, still wasn't ready for the 49ers. And when I say ready, I don't mean just, he practiced, but he's not playing. Like, no, he's not even practicing yet. So, I mean, they put him on the active 53-man roster because they anticipate he will be back sooner than later. But at this point, it's becoming later than sooner. And, there had to been some type of setback. I did talk to Deron yesterday, and he told me that it's just more so soreness. It's a nagging soreness. And until that goes away, he's not going to be cleared to return because they're being extra precautious with it, given what he means to the team. And then you look at how the season is going. I mean, let's keep it a buck here. Is there a reason to rush him back at this point at 3-5?
No.
And because even if you put him back on the field against the Eagles, he's not 100%. He's still dealing with soreness. He might be more of a liability than an asset. And then you risk a very real setback that could delay his offseason program, the start of his offseason program. So you don't want to do that. It's an unfortunate situation. But I did ask him straight up. I said, hey, man, be real with me. Are we talking season ending? He was like, no. It's just taking longer than we thought. But he said, I'll be back this season. So, we'll see when that is and if it matters at that point as far as the record is concerned.
Well, again, hate to pile on here, another concerning designation from yesterday was Zack Martin, which we know he's been dealing with the shoulder. He's been looking like he's dealing with the shoulder out there, but back-to-back DNPs, I want to say for the first time this year, it feels like. What are we looking at with Zach? You're in the locker room. You probably talked to him. Is this trending towards him not playing this week?
Well, it doesn't sound like they have any concern that he won't be on the field against the Eagles, but there's obviously a concern as far as what level of Zack Martin are we getting physically? Because to actually answer your question, this is not the first time that he's had back-to-back DNPs. He was dealing with a back issue a few weeks back as well that I think took him from what would have been his rest day on Wednesday, but it bled over into Thursday. It might have even bled over until Friday, if I'm not misremembering. But nonetheless, he's been dealing with, shoulder and nagging back issues. I don't know if that is contributing to his downturn in play, because we're not seeing the Zack Martin that we're accustomed to seeing. And I mentioned this early in the offseason, I want to say like February or March, going back and looking at his film from 2023, there were already cracks in the armor. So I started to wonder, and I put the receipts out there. I was like, everybody's talking about Tyron Smith, and rightfully so, but everybody should start talking about the possible looming retirement of Zack Martin. And then a couple months after that, it became a headline conversation. And now you come into this season and you're seeing that his level of play is down. His body is starting to kind of fail him in ways that it never did before, because he was Mr. Iron Man for most of his career, right? And now, although he's not missing games, he's just really getting banged up. So something to watch today, Friday, as the injury report comes out. Let's see if he practices. And if not, it heightens the level of concern. Again, I don't think that he'll miss this game, but you have to wonder what he'll be able to do against a defensive front in the Eagles that is one of the best in the league, and they're feral, they're visceral, and they're out for blood on this weekend.
Outside of the obvious Dak Prescott, any other designation, noteworthy designation for you this week, Pat?
I'd say the only other really noteworthy one would be, well, a couple. Number one, Eric Kendricks, although he's dealing with the shoulder, he didn't practice on Wednesday. He returned in a limited capacity on Thursday, so he's trending in the right direction. He looks fine walking around the locker room talking. He's in good spirits. I think that he plays. I don't think there's any concern there. But you can go ahead and draw a line through Wanye Thomas. Unfortunately, he will remain in the concussion protocol likely through Sunday because of that hit that he took against the Atlanta Falcons. So probably rule him out. That's going to be a hit to the safety depth. And what sucks about that is all season I've kind of been calling for Wanye to get more reps on defense. And against the Falcons, that was his, if I'm not mistaken, that was his most repped game on defense of the entire season, and then he exits with a concussion. So hopefully he gets better soon, but absolutely don't rush that situation. Take care of yourself. Make sure your mentals are good, Wanye, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
And finally, this is looking like the week for Micah, right? It looks like it's trending that way, but he still was kind of unsure.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, it looks like you can pencil in Micah Parson. So no Deron Bland, but Micah Parson sounds like he's going to play. He keeps stopping short of overstepping the training staff and the medical staff because he understands that they're the ones that have to clear him. But, he's been ramping up in practice. He started in a limited capacity. He was limited technically yesterday again, but they did put more work on him. He says he feels good. He's not dealing with any soreness. He says he's 100%. There are no limitations. And he's speaking confidently about the matchup against Saquon Barkley. I mean, confidently in that he feels as if he's going to play. He's speaking like he's going to play. So all signs point to a goal for Micah Parsons. Barring a setback between today and tomorrow, looks like he's solid.
Let's go. So I don't want to get into the Dak injury that's been talked about all week, but I do kind of want to use him to kind of launch the next part of this segment here, your Science Lab teaser. With Dak Prescott being out, it's obviously Cooper Rush who is up, and Trey Lance would now be active as a backup quarterback. And Mike McCarthy has pretty much he seems to be tense on using Cooper Rush. Like when he's out there and he's talking about Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, he's propping up Trey Lance, but he's like, nah, Cooper's my guy. But a lot of the talk this week, through your articles on Twitter, here on the show is, hey, I think we should still get Trey Lance involved. And you broke it all the way down in your Science Lab, Pat. Give us a little bit of what you had to say on your article on .com.
Yeah, guys and ladies, make sure you check that out on the .com. It dropped yesterday morning. And basically, I am all in on unleashing Trey Lance. And let me qualify that by saying when I say unleash, I don't necessarily mean make him the starter against the Eagles. Now, organically, if he ends up becoming the starter over the course of the next several games, depending on how things work out, I'm fine with that. But I think that there's nothing to lose and possibly a good bit to gain when it comes to playing Trey Lance. Now, let's be honest. You're 3-5. The season is on the precipice of being lost. And I've said this on Talking Cowboys. If you drop this game against the Eagles, the season is pretty much a wrap. So from that point, now you need to start the evaluation process for not just Trey Lance, but for a lot of other guys on the roster as well. You already know what you have in Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is one of the best backups in the league. You know this. But if we move this team to a lost season, or if they move themselves to a lost season by dropping against the Philadelphia Eagles, then what does it benefit you to continue to play Cooper Rush when you already know what you have in Cooper Rush? What you don't know is what you have in a guy that you sent away a 4th-round pick for, whose only in-game action is 3 preseason games. So that's number one. You're paying him over $5 million this year. You're taking a $5+ million cap hit for him to be on the roster. Here's a situation. Here's an opportunity for you to put him on the field. And twofold. Number one, you can evaluate what his arm progression is. Is he progressing as a quarterback, drop back, so forth and so on. But guess who's the worst rushing team in the league? It's the Cowboys. Okay, well, let me add this to it. Trey Lance, and I get it backups in the preseason, but nonetheless, Trey Lance, through his 3 preseason games, had more rushing yards at the quarterback position than any of the Cowboys running backs, except for Rico Dowdle, have through the first 8 games of the regular season. That is a nauseating fact. What you do is you put Trey Lance in certain packages to keep the pass rush and the linebackers honest against the Philadelphia Eagles and defensive fronts going forward, who know that Cooper Rush, though he can move a little bit, he's not really going to escape that pocket. And your offensive line is playing inconsistent ball right now. So it could be a bit of a death sentence for Cooper Rush unless you insert someone like Trey Lance, who can give you like read option packages and things like that have to be honored, because as much as he can hand it off, he can tuck it and run. And then there's the third option wherein he can tuck, drop back, and then if you crash forward as a linebacker or a defensive back or a defensive lineman because you respect the fact that Trey Lance has the speed that he can burn you, then you can lob it over their head to a Jake Ferguson in the red zone or a CeeDee Lamb or Jalen Tolbert or any one of those guys. It just gives you another dynamic that you haven't had. And I could see if your offensive line was protecting well, but it's not. I could see if this was similar defense to what Cooper Rush had in 2022, when they were taking the ball away at a high level, they were playing at a high level, but that's not the case. So this is not the same situation as 2022 when Cooper Rush came in. So you got to have an added element, and there's just no reason for Trey Lance to remain on the sideline for 100% of the games going forward, even if this is not a season-ending injury for Dak. Even let's say Dak comes back in mid to late December for whatever reason, depending on what the record is. I say keep those Trey Lance packages in, right? So here's a good chance for you to find out if he's going to be viable QB2 going forward. And those are the best-case scenarios. Worst case is he gets out there, things don't go well, and you can just throw it on the pile of things that haven't been going well anyway.
Facts. But and then there's this other icing on the cake potentially where if he does play well enough to get a decent backup quarterback type of pay, you may get a 6th-round compensatory pick for the following year, because I just don't know that you're really going to recoup the full value. No, I do know. You're not going to recoup the full value of the 4th-round pick.
Come on.
You're not going to do it.
You are not.
You're not going to do it. So if you can get anything in return, and the return really isn't really going to be on the field, because this season is pretty much lost. It's trending towards that way. But if you can get some type of draft compensation back because he played decent enough for somebody to pay him $10 million for $8 million to be a backup, then that's a dub. But that's a stretch. But hey, man, we got to put it all out there. Before I let you go,
it's absolutely possible.
Sorry,
it's absolutely possible, because keep in mind, like you said, with the compensatory pick, and it might be, if you're Mike McCarthy and you rebuild Trey Lance in a season that's more or less lost, well, then the Cowboys could benefit. They could turn into a 5th-round pick, compensatory pick. And then if you're Mike McCarthy, look at it from this capacity. As it stands, realistically speaking, you don't have a contract beyond 2024.
Right.
If you go out on and if, assuming that he's not back because the season just continues to spiral, but if you can take away a bright spot in that, hey, look what I did to Trey Lance or for Trey Lance, well, guess what? You're interviewing for, let's say, 28, 29 other jobs in the NFL at this point. So, hey, you might as well go out guns blazing is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with that. Before I let you go, real quick, what should we watch for in this matchup? Again, it doesn't have to be a singular person, a coach, a unit. It can be whatever you want here. Just what to watch for here in this matchup before I let you go.
Man, you got to watch for this pass rush from the Eagles, man. That pass rush and that defensive front against this offensive line that's struggling is really concerning for me. And now you lose Dak Prescott and his mobility. Cooper Rush, he can give you an escape every once in a while, but not often. I mean, you're talking about Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Josh Sweat and Nakobe Dean and Nolan
Look at you
Smith.
saying all them
those
Georgia
guys
boys. Look at you.
Hey, no, listen. We're talking ball now.
I know I'm messing
right?
with you.
I want no success for them in that uniform. I want no success for them in that uniform. That being said, those are animals.
Yeah.
Howie knew what he was doing. So they're coming after Cooper Rush. And if the Cowboys can't get a ground game running to kind of neutralize that, if they can't block up front, this is going to be a very long and painful game for them. So they got a lot of adversity against them, to say the least, and it's growing by the day, seems like. But they're going to have to mount up and try to shock the world on Sunday.
Indeed, man. It's Patrik No C Walker from DallasCowboys.com. You can find him there with his great articles, all the podcasts. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, you better be ready for the smoke. That's all I'm going to say. Appreciate you, Pat.
Big Pat. Fun as always, man. Talk to y'all later.
Yes, sir.